When you came to the United States, is it true you only had $500 in your pocket?
Yes.
Imad, you're known for also known for having a unique management style. And again, I remember going to your office, this got to be 25 years ago, probably when you first started, and going in there and having a meeting with you. It's very, very friendly meeting, very kept. And all of a sudden you just start yelling out the door at some employees. And then you turn back and you turn the switch off and we're having a casual conversation. Pretty intimidating. Can you talk a little bit about your management style? I'd like to welcome our listeners to the Boulos Beat podcast. I'm your host, Greg Boulos. The Boulos Company is Northern New England's largest commercial real estate services firm with offices in Portland, Maine, as well as Manchester and Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We've been selling and leasing real estate in Maine and New Hampshire since 1975. This podcast is designed to provide insight into Maine's business movers and shakers. And speaking of business leaders, I'd like to welcome Imad Khalidi to the Boulos Beat. Imad Khalidi was born in Jerusalem and graduated from Jean-Baptiste de La Salle College and Berzit College with an associate degree in chemistry. He lived in France from 1974 to 1990. He attended 2 full-time management courses at the INSEAD in Fontainebleau, France. Imad moved to Camden, Maine in 1990 and to Portland, Maine in 1993. Imad is 73 years young and has been married to his wife, Hulda, for 29 years. He has 8 children, 5 girls and 3 boys, and speaks 5 languages. Imad is widely known as a foremost expert in the car rental industry. In his role as CEO and president of Auto Europe, Imad led the company from car rental services to a leader in the European car rental space. Imad started with Auto Europe in 1990, eventually becoming an owner. Welcome, Imad.
My pleasure, Greg. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for showing up on the Boulos Beat. We appreciate it. So, Imad, you grew up in Jerusalem and moved to Paris when you were 18 or so with your parents, then to Camden, Maine. Why did you leave Jerusalem and how did you end up in Camden? I mean, can you tell us about the journey?
I left Jerusalem in 1971-72, where after college, I had 2 years of associate in sciences around in Jerusalem, and I could not find a job. So my mother asked me to move to France. We moved to France. I worked at the Holiday Inn as a bellboy, then became an innkeeper. And at that time, the car rental companies in Europe were not existent. Hertz started an operation somewhere in Paris, Orly, and they offered me a job to start in the car rental business back in 1976.
And that was your first introduction to the car rental business.
Exactly. Then from 76 to 82, I left Hertz in 1982 and worked for a company which was a local European company called Europcar. They hired me as an international franchisee manager for one reason. I speak 5 languages and I could cover the West and the East, the Middle East as well as the West. So I covered more or less the Near East, including Israel and Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, etc., and east coast of Africa, as well as Scandinavia.
So as I understand it, you speak 5 languages, but you understand 7.
Exactly.
You're kind of a slacker where you don't know all 7. What happened?
Well, if you speak French, it's very easy for you to understand Italian,
Romance language,
and Spanish, and some Portuguese. But you need to practice to learn how to answer back in Spanish or Italian. I don't have much experience, not much practice in speaking those 2 languages. While French, Arabic, and English was a daily language that I would use. Italian or Spanish would be once a month.
So did you learn to speak these languages in Jerusalem?
I had to speak the 3 languages in Jerusalem. My mother has put me in a school called Jean-Baptiste de La Salle. Mm-hmm. It's a missionary Jesuit school to teach the community in Jerusalem, the West, as well as the Middle East. And at that time, we had to speak 3 languages. So 1 week was Arabic, 1 week was English, and 1 week was French.
Amazing.
Then I had to understand Hebrew, to speak Hebrew. Hebrew and Arabic are very, very, very close to each other. It's the same descendant. It's Aramaic language, where Jesus used to speak the same language, which is the same as Hebrew and Arabic. So in Arabic we say Amma, and in Hebrew we say Ima for mother, Mother is Amma and Ima. It's very, very close to each
So
other.
it's easy to make the transition.
Yeah.
And to this day, can you still speak 5 languages? Or
Till today, I can speak several languages, but I don't master them very well. I'm very good in numbers and lesser in languages. So I speak the way my accent in English or my language, my speaking of the English language is the same as French or Arabic or Hebrew.
when you were growing, go back to Jerusalem. When you were growing up in Jerusalem, did you experience or see any violence there?
Not at all, honestly. 1976, I was born in 1951 when Jerusalem was under the Jordanian mandate. So I was, as a nationality, we had a Jordanian passport, born in Jerusalem. Now in 67, when 6 Days War happened
With Egypt.
with Egypt, Israel occupied east of Jerusalem and the West Bank. So that's where I started learning Hebrew. There was no, at that time, there was really no violence, no terrorism between both parties. Violence started in 1971, 72, internationally, more than locally. And that's where I left to France.
When you came to the United States, is it true you only had $500 in your pocket?
Yes, I went so let's continue the story. I went to France 1972, 73, worked for the holiday in 3 years, then Hertz, then Europe Car. By the end of my employment with Europe Car, they moved me to international sales, so I would come to the USA, sell the car rental product to Delta Dream Vacations or American Airlines Vacations. And one of my accounts was Auto Europe based in Camden, Maine. So that's where he offered me the job, the partner in Alex Sissel, who founded Auto Europe in 1954. He was based in Camden with 15 employees at that time. And he offered me a job, and in the meantime also offered me to buy a share of the company. So I came with some money to buy the share of the company, 25% of it, and the $500 which remained in my pocket. That's how I started in the USA.
And Camden, Maine from Paris.
Oh, yes.
That's a little bit of a culture shock, I would think.
All shocks.
So you came with Hilda, your wife?
No, I wasn't. I was married in France. With my first marriage, I had 6 children.
With your first wife?
Exactly. My first wife is very Parisian, and she refused to move to Camden, Maine with me.
I can't understand why.
Yeah, sure. So
you came to Camden. And so where did you meet Hilda?
I met Hulda. Hulda worked for Iceland Air at the time.
I'm sorry, who?
Worked for Iceland Air.
Iceland Air, okay.
In 1994. And I was trying to get the account of Iceland Air for car rental. And that's how we met.
Was she a flight attendant or?
She was a airport manager at the time.
Interesting. And then you had 2 children with?
I mean, we got married within 3 months, I think.
Within 3 months?
I met her in June and we got married in October.
You know, I've known you for a while. I've always known you to be very decisive. You don't waste any time. And that's a great example. 3 months.
Exactly.
You know, Imad, it's interesting for me of all the people I know a lot of people through the business, but you seem to have the most appreciation and love of this country more than really other people I know who were born here. And I'm just wondering, why is that? I mean, where does that come from?
Let me explain to you the whole concept of coming to America. What I've done in the USA, or what America gave me to do, or what America helped me to do, I could not do it anywhere in the world. Not in France, not in Jerusalem, not in Germany, not anywhere in the world. What we you call in the USA the American dream is always there. It's an opportunity. You grab it. You work it ethically. You work it hard. You service. You apply service, the excellent service that you have, and then you succeed. That's the American dream, and that's what I've done. When I came to Camden, Maine, it was 10 employees. Today, it's 600 employees all over the world. It was $1 million sales in Camden, Maine. Today, it's $500 million of sales. It was a very simple equation. American dream, grab it, work it hard, ethically, it will pay, always.
And it certainly has paid for you.
Very well.
When did you become an American citizen?
In 2001, 6 months pre-9/11.
Just before 9/11?
Just before 9/11.
And was that a long process for you, or?
It wasn't an easy process. First of all, you come over here, you have to have an H-1B visa, which is a working visa. Then you have to apply for a green card. Then once you have done 4 years of H-1B plus 4 years of green card, plus the time it takes to apply, you can apply for American citizenship. That's I came an American citizen by heart, emotionally and physically in April 2001.
2001.
This country gave me, and I will always try to give back.
And so what's so different about the American dream versus, you say you could not do what you did here in France, for example. Why is that, do you think?
In France, whatever we say, because of my origins, I had far more racism compared to the USA. And I've been in this country 32 years in Maine. I've never encountered one single racist action towards me,
right,
or emotionally speaking. I did not feel any racism. In France, there is, why did I leave France to the USA? One more reason. I wanted to move from traveling abroad all the time with Europcar to have a job in France. So I went to the president of Europcar and told him, would you please give me a job in France because I cannot continue on traveling so much. He told me, Mr. Khalidi, you are a foreigner over here. I cannot give you a job easily in France. So that meant for me, leave France immediately and come to the USA. That's what happened.
And the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is, I thanked him very much afterwards.
Yeah. So for our viewers who don't know about Auto Europe, can you explain what is Auto Europe?
The concept is very simple. We are a broker of car rental services. That is, we contract with 150 car rental companies worldwide, like Hertz, Avis, Budget, Alamo, National, Sixt, etc. We contract with them in the beginning of the year for a certain amount of rental days or rental cars, and we market the product under our own name as Auto Europe. But we don't have cars, we don't have locations. We only have one thing that surpasses all other companies is the service we provide and the price we provide. We are always very competitive compared to the market, and the service we give is well known to be the best service you can ever have. I'll give you an example, very simple. You are an American, you travel to Paris, you go to France, you don't speak French, you go to a restaurant, you leave your car with the lights on, and then when you come back back to the hotel, the car does not start.
Battery's dead.
You call us, we will send you either a towing truck or we will send you a cab to go to your hotel, or we ask even the restaurant manager, owner to drive you to the hotel. That's something that we do because we know that Americans, for example, knows one language mostly,
yes,
not two. So at 10 o'clock in the evening, if you don't speak French, may God bless you. Here you call us 24 hours, we service you. Nobody does a service like we do.
So you're really a broker of cars because you don't own the inventory.
Exactly.
It's, to me, as a layman, on the surface, it seems like you're competing with Hertz and Budget. So why would they do that?
I can bring them a quality of clientele that is not as easy as that to get for them. For example, there are around 10,000 travel agents in the country. We are preferred supplier to most of them. That's a clientele that Hertz is more interested to get businessmen than leisure clients. We only go to the leisure market, and we don't compete with Hertz in their business market.
Also, don't you probably give them a guarantee of buying a certain number of
exactly.
What do you call it? Days or
days, mostly days or car rental days. We give them at the beginning of the year. Auto Europe did in 2019 around 2,300,000 transactions.
So that can be risky for you folks if you don't call it right in terms of what you're offering to pay.
There is a commercial agreement, but it is not a binding financial agreement. That is, if something happens during the year, like COVID-19 or any issues, or the service of that company is not as good as it was, we have no financial commitment or risk not to give them the business or not to cooperate with them.
So you can walk away from that if you.
It's not buy and sell. It's sell and buy. I sell first and then buy from them, rather than buy from them and then sell.
So you minimize the risk.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
And the Auto Europe has had a great reputation to fulfill the promises that we have given, commitments to the car rental companies.
And I would think that before you walk away from an agreement, even though you legally can, you probably think twice about it because you've got this reputation and relationship with these companies.
It is built on 35 years of relationships with most of the companies.
So let's talk about your business career for a minute, if we may. You've been running Auto Europe since 1990, is that correct? And
Exactly.
president since 92?
Exactly.
But the company was started in Germany by Alex Cecil in 1954. How did you and Alex connect?
When I was working for Europcar, I came to the USA to promote the Europcar products in France, and Auto Europe was one of the smallest account I had based in Camden, Maine. I used to have at that time Pan Am was flying. I used to have Pan Am as a client for car rental, Delta Dream Vacations as a client, and the smallest account was Auto Europe, which was at that time 15 employees in Camden and the $1 million sales.
Do you know how Alex happened to form the company in Camden? Because he was from Europe, right?
Yeah. No, Alex Cecil is from Alabama, I think.
Alabama, okay.
Okay. He's a genius. He's a marketing genius. He was a student, I think, in Germany for one reason or another, as an American in Germany. He saw that the GIs needed cars to rent or to buy. So he went to Volkswagen, that dealt with them in such a way that they can lease cars to the GIs, and the DOD would guarantee the payment of the GIs of the product. That's how he started the whole business. And then when things grew up, he decided to come to the USA and do it from the USA rather than stay in Europe.
And was Alex still alive, or
He passed away in 2008, I think, yeah.
So, Imad, you're known to be a very charitable person. That's your reputation. And from personal experience, I remember when I was on the Maine Center for Creativity board, Alan Atkins, who I think was your attorney at the time, and Gene McGinnis from the center came to visit with you to ask you for a donation. And, we had all these elaborate renderings and paperwork and everything else. I think it was the shortest meeting of my life. You basically said, what do you want? How much do you want? And we asked, and you said, fine. And the meeting was over. And again, going to the way you conduct business, you're very decisive, but also very, very charitable.
I think I learned this mostly from Jerusalem, where you come. Jerusalem is the city of the three languages and three religions, not languages, three religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The three of them are very charitable, and charity is a must in those three languages. Jesus was very charitable, etc. But I learned one thing in the USA. When Katrina hurricane happened, the American people helped the Katrina incident more than the government.
Yes.
When something happened in Greece back in, I think in 2000 something, something happened in Greece, fires or whatever it is, the Americans were the first to help the Greeks there. So the American nation, people, not the government, are a very, very charitable people, and they are really stands by the poverty in case poverty or any other issues. And I was told that charity is blind. You don't discriminate. You don't say it is white or black or red or orange. And when you came in, I knew one thing, that what you are asking for was a must for me to contribute in, and that was a pleasure.
And you did, and we appreciate it to this day. Imad, you're known for also known for having a unique management style. And again, I remember going to your office, this got to be 25 years ago, probably when you first started, and your office was down at the Galt Block. No, actually at that time it was at 27 Pearl Street?
Exactly.
Okay. And going in there and having a meeting with you, a very, very friendly meeting, and all of a sudden you just start yelling out the door at some employees. And then you turn back and you turn the switch off and we're having a casual conversation. Pretty intimidating. Can you talk a little bit about your management style?
You have to be fair with your employees. You have to be strict with the ones who does not do their job, and you have to be fair and pleasant with the ones who does their job. And that's how I ran the company. It's a bit Middle Eastern. I'm not saying it's a bit a Middle Eastern way of doing business. You have to be firm from one side, pleasant and fair from the other side. And that's what I've done always.
Now, at the time, I remember you used to smoke. Now you've quit,
Oh,
is that
gotcha.
right?
Oh, I quit since 9 months. Thanks God.
9 months?
Thanks God.
It's not easy, is it?
It's not.
Now,
50 years
fair
of
to say you
smoking.
were a chain smoker?
More than that. I had 4 packs a day.
So I would come into your office. It was like going through a haze, and I just always remember that. Even back when I started my career, people would smoke in the office, believe it or not. But then that changed. But no, you kept smoking away, and
I stopped 9 months ago. I used to smoke 4 packs a day, and my office was done
4 packs a day.
And my office was done in such a way that the ventilation takes the smoke outside the office. So any employee who was a smoker would find any reason to come and talk to me in the office so that he could smoke at the same time I'm smoking.
I love it.
And thanks God I stopped, 9 months ago. 50 years, from 1965, 67 till 2000.
And did you quit cold turkey? It'd be just
Totally.
difficult.
Not at all. Just
Not at all. Seriously.
seriously. I remember that my oxygen level went down to 72%. So I was nearly there.
And it should be up like 95%.
It should be 95 at least. And that's when I stopped totally. Totally. In one day. And I don't miss it at all.
That's willpower. That's amazing.
And I really advise anybody who smokes, stop it. It's not easy.
So I was having a conversation last week at lunch with Alan Atkins, prepping for this interview. And he told me, you can tell me if this is true or not, he told me a story that when he was representing you legally and you owned the golf building down on Commercial Street, there was a restaurant who wanted to come in as a tenant. And part of the lease negotiation, you said that you had the right to go into this restaurant, and when you went to the restaurant, you could smoke.
Yes.
Is that true?
True.
So you're the only one who could smoke in the restaurant?
Back in the days, it's true. Back in 94, 95. True.
And did you take advantage of that?
Not much. No.
I love it.
When you are 15 years old, 17 years old, you think that smoking makes you look like a man.
Sure.
And that was the reason of smoking.
Yeah.
And the reason of not stopping smoking, you are no more a man continuing on smoking.
Now,
You are a dead man, morally.
it made you look like a man. You thought that. Did it help you with the girls back then?
Oh, yes, exactly.
It did, okay.
You are a man. Smoke.
Going back to Auto Europe, Imad, as I understand it, business was booming for Auto Europe prior to the pandemic. In general, the pandemic had a devastating effect on the hotel and car rental business. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, Hertz went bankrupt. How did Auto Europe fare during that time, and what adjustments did you have to make to the business?
It was in my professional life, the toughest part of the business was the COVID-19. 9/11 was regional, so it was just for 2-3 months we did not have much business. The volcano in Iceland, when you could not fly with the clouds and the smoke in the clouds, it was 2-3 months, and it wasn't a health issue. 9/11 was very American,
Localized.
Exactly, Europeans continued on traveling. COVID-19 was international, so there was no income whatsoever in the year 2020, none. And I had 400, 500 employees to make sure that I can support and have food on their tables during those days. Since we are an American company with only 25% of its employees in the USA and 75% of its employees are in Germany or Portugal or Australia, the government did not give me any PPE, what you call
PPP money.
PPP money, nothing at all. So I had really to make sure that my suppliers, who knows Auto Europe very well and knows that we are loyal to them and we have done a great job with them, are patient to be paid. Number one, there was no income. My employees either volunteered to have a 50% cut or work 1 day a week, so because there was nothing to do more than that and just be paid. And we, thanks God, and thanks to my employees mostly, thanks to my team mostly, the company went out of it in 2022. 2021, things started to be better. 2022, we came back to 60% of 2019, pre-COVID-19. And 2023, we are at not more than 10% under 2019.
So you really made a rebound.
We made a rebound and things went out, but it was very, very tough. When I saw some of my employees who could not have money for the food on their tables.
And you must have had layoffs.
I had a choice, either lay off or reduce salaries. So when I brought the employees, I told them, look, do what's best for us, for the company. Layoffs or reduce salaries. Everybody raised their hand to reduce salaries. So I did not really lay off.
That's amazing.
I did 5 or 10 employees who asked to be laid off because they could collect unemployment.
Right.
While, I mean, in the USA, we were 200 employees. We are now today 150, 160. The layoffs were really either retirement or people who prefer to have, who decided to have more unemployment income rather than a decrease in salaries.
And you've got, what, 500 to 600 employees?
We had 600 employees in January 2020 before COVID.
Interesting. So another thing I heard about out of Europe, that post-pandemic, because of the imbalance of supply and demand, what might have cost 200 euros in terms of car rental went up to like 800 euros.
True.
Is that right?
True.
And how did you, with such a price increase, how do you keep your loyal customers happy?
First of all, I'll tell you why it happened that it went from 200 to 800. You know, the lack of chips. The car manufacturers could not manufacture cars.
For the cars.
And the COVID-19 also did not help them to have the manufacturing entities open and producing cars. So the car rental companies could not have brand new cars to fleet their cars.
Right.
Number one. And Hertz was Chapter 11, so you have got something like 500,000 cars which are not available in the market. So rates went really up. That's number one. Number two, in the old days, pre-COVID-19, you would wash the car once and that's it. Well, with COVID-19, you had to wash it inside, outside, sanitize it, make sure it is virus-free, etc., and you had to make sure that the clients are happy with the quality of the sanity of the car. So the cost went up, and the rates went up. Now, to 2023, we are back to maximum 4 to 5% over 2019, not more.
So really back to normal.
Really back to normal. Yes, it went from 200 to 800, but now with the 200, it's 220, 230, not more than that.
And with inflation, I mean, that's probably
With inflation, exactly.
on par. In terms of post-pandemic hiring of employees, you know, everybody talks about how difficult it is to get employees. Has that been a problem for you folks?
Very much, especially in Maine. Very much. I used to have students coming from universities, colleges, etc., and I used to have people who are at a certain age, 50, 60, 70 years old, to pick up the phone. This is not a face-to-face job. It's really back office, etc., etc. Don't forget that in Maine, you have got 25,000 people who retired during COVID-19, who were not replaced by a new generation. So you have got really a huge lack of manpower in Maine.
Right.
And the new generation who went to colleges back in 2020, 2021, 2022 are not coming back from Massachusetts or New York or whatever colleges they are back to Maine for jobs. They are staying out of Maine. The new generation is not very much incentivized to come back to Maine because, first of all, somebody who's 22 years old, 23 years old, Maine is a bit boring.
Yes.
For him. Secondly,
my kids live on the West Coast, by the way, so I get it.
Secondly, the salary payroll state tax is 9%, where New Hampshire is 0, Florida is 0. See what I mean? So they are not. So we really have a double hit by lacking of employees. Employees who retired, and new generation employees did not come back.
And is that true for Portland too? Because I always thought Portland was very attractive to young people.
Same thing. There, if you look at restaurants or hotels or shops, we are hiring, and you have got a signing bonus. All those things are not even bringing employees down here.
So what's the answer? How do you correct that?
I am an immigrant, so I would say first of all, let's bring some immigrants who are skilled to help us out, because today, you and I, our Social Security, I don't know if we are going to get paid unless we have got a new generation working, contributing so that we get paid.
Right.
That's number one. And Americans are not making more than 1 baby or 2 babies per year. So we need more immigrants in specialized, no-risk jobs. I mean, an American graduate would not clean rooms.
Right.
It's not going to be a plunger in a restaurant or a busboy in a restaurant. That would help so much. And you can have a visa where you bring them in April and you let them go back home in October, November when the season goes down.
Now, is that what the J1 visa program's all
Exactly.
about? And how does that work for you? You bring somebody in for part of the year?
It used to be easy. Nowadays, it's not as easy as that. You have to have qualification and why and how, etc., etc. So a G visa is not like a J visa is not like it was before, as easy as it was.
So Auto Europe in Maine, are you looking for people?
I would love to. First of all, in Maine, we need people who answers the phone in French for the Canadians.
Yes.
Germans for the German clients who calls us over here, or the Spanish clients who call us from Latin America, or the Italian clients who calls us from Italy. And you cannot find employees over here in Maine who has got a multi-language skills. So if I can bring easily 20 or 30 employees from Europe to here, if I can get an easy visa for them to get them here in April and send them back in October.
What about Auto Europe, say, in Europe? Is it difficult finding employees? Or
Not at all. Yeah, no problems at all.
is that cultural, you think, or?
I think it's the different atmosphere from Maine or the USA. They did not suffer as much from COVID-19. The governments in Europe helped employees far more than American government.
Imad, your entrepreneurial skills were demonstrated at a very early age. You and I spoke about when you were in Jerusalem as a young boy, maybe 8 years old, and you had this enterprise where it had something to do with matches. Can you talk about that?
Okay. Jerusalem is a city where you have got international tourists, mostly American tourists coming to Jerusalem. And in 1950s, I was 7 years old, 8 years old, 19 years old, in Jerusalem, you would see the American tourists with the striped pants and striped shirts with the Kodak camera. You know exactly they were American.
It says tourists.
So I would take the small pieces of match wood, make it as dirty, as old as possible, put it in my hand, run to the American tourist and tell him, this is from the Jesus' cross of Jesus, or the area of where Jesus was crucified. He told me how much. I would say $5. He would say, no, $2. I would take the $2 and run, because the tourist police was looking for me at the time if I do that again.
So as I understand, you take the burnt matches,
Exactly.
the sulfur,
Exactly.
and put a bunch of them together,
Exactly.
and then go to the tourists and say, this is from the cross of Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
And did you also organize other youths?
Yeah, once I grew up, 8, 9 years old, the business flourished. Oh, I had many schoolmates with me who became 5, 6, 7 people in different areas of the whole city doing the same thing.
So that was your start into the business world.
Or later on, when we started thinking more, becoming more close to things, we would put some sand in or water from the Jordan River in a small bottle and say, this is where Jesus was baptized, which was true.
That was probably more believable.
And more money.
And now what would that go for?
$25.
$25.
At the time.
Which was a lot.
Which is like $250 today.
I love the story.
When you are born in Jerusalem, you are born in a city which is a marketing city. Look how we have expanded religion to all over the world. You have got 4 billion today who are either Christians, Muslims, or Jews. The origin is from Jerusalem.
That's right. I've heard somewhere, tell me if this is true or not, that you hire a lot of employees who are in recovery.
Yes.
I didn't know that about you or Auto Europe. Can you talk about that and why you do that?
There is a movement called Day One. Day One takes the recovering kids and tries to place them in jobs and helps them out. And I was a part of it back in the 4 years ago. At a certain moment, you have to give people a chance. John Lennon, back in Vancouver, 1967, saying to give peace a chance.
Yeah,
I would say give people a chance, because people can create peace. It's not peace who can create people. Vice versa. So that was my motto, give people a chance. And 40% of my employees back in 2018-19 were ex-recovery.
40%?
40%. And I wish I can have them back today, but they have got all, they have got jobs. Everybody has got jobs.
You know, Imad, you have lived in many places and you've traveled more and speak several languages, as we talked about. You're a legal immigrant who became a citizen. What's your feeling about America today as you sit here?
Great country. All the problems we have, still it's a great, whatever we say, it's a democracy. The democracy is the birthplace of in America.
So despite its problems, you still are high on America.
Sure, with no problem. I wouldn't leave Maine. First of all, I wouldn't leave Maine, which means I wouldn't leave America. It's a great place. I mean, I left, name it, I was there. I was in 120, 130 countries in the world. There is nothing like this country. The melting pot, the American dream, opportunity for everybody. Yes, there are problems, but they are minor. They can be surmounted compared to other places.
Do you plan to retire?
50%.
Does that mean 50% yes, 50% no, or
50% retire and 50% still active? Because the brain has to be active. Physically, you have to be active. In the morning, you have to wake up for a reason. And, you know, staying with your wife 24 hours, it's too much.
recipe for divorce?
Exactly.
I always say you need a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And you also, earlier today we were talking, you said your brain actually works faster than your ability to speak.
Exactly.
And obviously the brain is still going very, very strong.
And I hope the interview today is as easy as that to understand my accent and the speed at which I talk. I'm trying to calm down. Usually I'm faster.
Actually, this is very calm for you, Imad.
Exactly.
Imad, I want to thank you for
My pleasure.
being on the Boulos Beat. This is very interesting for me, and I very much appreciate your coming.
It's my pleasure, Greg. You, as many as other of my friends today, my lawyers, my doctors, yourself, are friends and family for me. You adopted me in a country where I came here as a stranger, foreigner, and I feel at home. I'm racinated.
Well, we love it. Thank
My
you,
pleasure.
Imad.
Thank you.
Imad, thank you for being our guest today on the Boulos Beat, a Boulos Company podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. You can learn more about Auto Europe at the company's website, which is autoeurope.com, on Facebook and Instagram at Auto Europe Car Rentals, on Twitter at Auto_Europe, and on LinkedIn at Auto Europe Car Rental. And if you'd like to learn more about the Boulos Company, please be sure to visit us at boulos.com. You can also find us at the Boulos Company on Facebook and LinkedIn, and at the Boulos Co. on Instagram and Twitter. And lastly, if you want to know the secret to owning real estate, it's pretty simple. Just be sure to outlive your debt.